Hey everybody, it's been a little bit since I've done a video, so just to give you an update, I am finally licensed and I have my practice going. So if you're interested to learn more, click my website, the link to my website. And today is going to be a little bit different than my other videos. Rather than putting together something more kind of structured or scripted, I'm going to be just chatting, and I'm considering this one of my first tea time talks. Today I'm doing iced tea because it's really hot, so gotta have my tea. Anyway, so I want to talk about a topic that actually might be really uncomfortable for many people, which is race and therapy. So, maybe this is something you've given a lot of thought about, or maybe this is something that is actually really new to you to think about. And again, these are just some perspectives. What I'm sharing are just some of my thoughts, and I really just want you to, if it's helpful, just to listen, take it in, and whatever feels like resonates with you, take that, and everything else you can just, check out the window. So the reason I want to talk about race and therapy, that can be its own hour-long video, but really quickly, just finding the right therapist. And there are some studies, more kind of older studies, about actually you don't need to have a therapist of the same race. You just need someone you have a really good connection with. And that is actually very, very true. That connection piece is really important. But those studies were done a little while ago, and things have changed and evolved in the world. We are having many more discussions about culture and race and how they impact mental health than we've ever had before in this field and in our society. So I'm just going to share kind of my observations as a therapist, and also from my personal experience in case it's helpful for you. So the biggest thing that I think about is not whether thinking about from my experience is not whether does the therapist I'm, potentially connecting with, are they the same race as me? That's not always possible. We don't have a great variety or diversity or representation in our field, and hopefully that's changing, but it can be really hard to find that exact match. So what do I look for? I look for someone that I like to call it has a shorthand or a shortcut. So somebody that has maybe enough understanding or experience where I'm not having to explain every little thing to that person. So I've worked with therapists from all different backgrounds as a client myself, and I've also been a therapist for people from many different backgrounds. And I think the biggest thing here is race important to you? Race and culture. Is that important to how you experience the world and how you experience your identity, your sense of well-being? Does it affect your mental health? If so, if you're like yes, you really need to find a therapist that has experience working with diverse populations, and not just like a blanket colorblind approach, but that really takes intentional time to learn about different racial and cultural and ethnic backgrounds and how that impacts mental health. So you can look up cultural humility, which is kind of an orientation approach that I think really does help. It's not that every therapist will know everything about every culture, but for example, if I'm meeting with a client who's from a different culture or racial background than I am, I'm not going to sit there and have that person explain to me everything there is to, being Chinese, for example. That's a lot of time that I'm asking them to educate me and to actually for them to pay for me to learn, and that's actually not okay. So it is important that I ask them about their experiences, and this is something a lot of therapists will do, tell me about your experience. What is it like being Chinese? And that's good advice to share with other therapists, but that's not sufficient by itself. So if I'm just asking you, but I'm not doing my own homework, that's still putting all the weight onto you. So if I'm meeting with a client that I don't have a lot of experience with, it is up to me then to both ask my clients about their experience and hold space and do my own learning. It is really, really important that I understand their context and background. And so you might be sitting here going, well, does a therapist do that for every single client? They should be. They should be doing that for every single client, actually for any experiences and identities that mean a lot to you. Does that mean every therapist will do that? No, that is not the case. So what I look for in a therapist is when I'm talking to them and asking for a free consultation. So I'm looking up, this person seems good, this person's a fit, I'll call them up for a free consultation. And I'll ask them questions like, do you have experience working with South Asian women? And I'm going to look for and listen to like a very specific response. Let me kind of back that up. Not a specific response, but that their response is not just like very generalized, because that can, and vague, because that can mean they actually haven't thought about it. But is their response like detailed enough that they've given thought to this? Like, yeah, I've worked with some South Asian women before, and typically, when I'm working with South Asian folks, here are some topics that come up, or anything that kind of gives me a sense of like they've given thought to this. What I don't like hearing, or what I wouldn't want to hear for myself, is someone saying, oh yeah, I work with everybody, or oh no, I haven't, but why is that important to you? Again, putting it back onto me. Not that it isn't important to hear from the client why it's important to them, but are they giving you something? Are they putting in some energy to show? What about when a therapist has not had any experience? Like, what do you do there? Well, is a therapist being upfront? So, for example, I have not had a lot of experience working with Native and Indigenous folks. And so if I'm working with clients from those backgrounds, I want to be upfront and honest. I'm also going to be honest and talking about what am I doing to prepare myself. So I have my own trainings, a list of readings, exposing myself to different arts, for example. I want to be able to have something to grab onto, so I'm not just putting it all onto the client. So I'm hoping that just by me sharing a little bit about this, it's giving you a sense of what you might look for in a therapist. Having that shortcut can actually breed connectivity. And so while it's not always possible to get a therapist from the exact same background as you, sometimes also different cultures and different racial backgrounds have overlap in experience or similar values that can be kind of good scaffolding. So for example, the value, say, of family, is family really important, and it's really important in my culture, and maybe it's important in other cultures. And if that's something I'm hearing, I can kind of resonate that and understand that, and again, still do that education for myself to take that deeper and to ask the client about their personal experience. So I am definitely someone that thinks understanding race and culture and people's lived experience, as well as many other identities, is so important to establishing a really, really deep, a really reflective and understanding experience. So I hope this is helpful, and until the next Tea Talk, I'll see you then.